Okay, Steve Cooper, Rank Success, and today's video is about the Competency and Values Framework, the CVF. Without doubt, one of the main reasons I get contacted, even just for phone calls, the odd email, and queries generally and sometimes specifically, are around the competencies or the behaviours that feature in the CVF. I think the College of Policing describe it somewhere in the literature in their 18 pages of guidance on the CVF as a fresh, exciting, innovative, new framework to equip policing to go forward into the future. And no doubt that's the reason, the motivation for it behind it. But the side that I see about it is uncertainty, frustration, people being mystified by it, bemused, confused, and generally when you come to think of it, if you're a busy cop and you're going for promotion as part of your career progression and you're working long shifts or perhaps commuting, and you've really got to try and get your head around a framework to align and to kind of match your and correlate your operational evidence or leadership experience against, it can be sometimes a bridge too far, and sometimes that's due to the fact that there's a time scale, the process opens up and it's like a mad dash. I've got to get my application in. Whoa, what's this CVF? What's this new framework? And it can seem a little bit overwhelming. So one of the ways I wanted to support people is just through this series of videos where I'm going to look at each of the competencies just very quickly, very briefly, just to kind of give you a layman's kind of interpretation, because one of the consistent themes in the feedback I get is that you've helped me to demystify the whole process, Steve. If I hadn't contacted you, if I hadn't come on a masterclass, or if I hadn't downloaded your guides or any combination of those, I would have remained mystified and would never have been able to achieve my potential. So comments are generally around those kind of things, and you can see those on my site. So there's not a lot of help and support and guidance out there. It's difficult for forces to recommend private companies or individuals like me because it is probably just fraught with them doing that. And it's also difficult for them to provide meaningful support to you. And part of the reason for that is because you've got to do it yourself. Generally, promotion success is a DIY job. You know, you've got to do it yourself. You've got to launch yourself into it. You've got to raise your own awareness and read things such as the CVF to help as part of that and to make those links to your evidence to be successful. So what I want to do is just this little series of videos to help officers become a little bit more aware, to support them without costing any money, and to help you just become a little bit more informed just through sharing some of my thoughts around it that work. So I'm going to cover each of the 6 CVF competencies and the 4 values over the next week or so. And this theme of demystifying promotion selection, preparation work and frameworks is something that I'm aiming to do through these videos. If you like them, of course, you can subscribe to this channel. You can book onto a masterclass right now, or download a digital toolkit right now, or contact me for one-to-one support. So just to finish this particular video, I just want to give you a quick idea of frameworks and a couple of tips. So with the CVF, my first guidance to people is don't read it, don't look at it. You've got to become familiar with it at some stage, but just have a think about what the competencies are. There are 6 of them, and have a think about what they mean in layman's terms. So that's what I'm going to try and do through this set of videos, is just think about it differently. It's not complicated, it's certainly not rocket science, but it is something that you have to get used to. So one of the ways I sometimes say to people is, look, if I was recruiting you to become a mafia hitman or a mafia gangster, what kind of things would we be looking at? What kind of skills or behaviours would we be looking at? So the ability to threaten and intimidate people, perhaps, the ability to keep quiet, the ability to use violence at the drop of a hat, perhaps a little bit of a criminal record but not too much. You see where we're going with this? We're not recruiting you to be, and you're not being recruited to be a mafia gangster, but it's just a set of behaviours. So get rid of that thought and now bring in the fact that there are just 6 behaviours, and these are the behaviours we would expect to see when recruiting a police sergeant or inspector. So what would they be? And when you start looking at we're emotionally aware, we're analytical, we deliver support and inspire, those kind of behaviours, they're not too far away from what you would expect. So there are only 6 behaviours. There's four values that cut across them. The behaviours or the competencies in the CVF are at levels. So there's level 1 for practitioners, level 2 for sergeants through to chief inspector rank, and level 3 for executive and fast track candidates. So, but don't get too hung up on those levels. Generally, I would encourage you to just focus on level 2 as a sergeant, if you're going for sergeant, inspector or chief inspector. Why? Because that's the level you're going to be assessed at. Yes, it says you have to be demonstrating or competent at all the other things below it, but once you start looking at those kind of things, there's just far too much of it and you'll cloud your head up. So this series of videos on the CVF is just to kind of inform you, to share some of my thoughts on my approach to help demystify it, to avoid you having to pay any money, and of course unless you want to invest in yourself, and just to kind of help you along the way with your career progression. So I look forward to doing those videos, and I'll be in touch shortly. As I say, subscribe to the channel, attend the masterclass, or download the digital toolkit if you want to crack on with this stuff right now. But I'll look forward to speaking to you in the next videos. Thank you.